Yeah.
Hello, hello. Welcome once again to another edition of Quoth Raven, Lewis Bright Raven. I'm your host, Lewis Bright Raven. It is Friday night, movie night, and I had to turn off one of my co-host mics for a second because his dog was getting a little bit obnoxious. But that happens sometimes. Unexpected little things like that. But our other co-host is having some technical difficulties. We're hoping he can join us shortly. In the meantime, let me introduce my co-host, Chris Hall.
Hello, hello, everybody.
And hopefully our other co-host, John Norris, will be on shortly. He is having some technical issues, some sort of like memory issue or something with his laptop. We don't know what's going on. And so he's going to try and join us via a different device here shortly, I hope. So we're just keeping an eye out for him. Been a crazy week. I've had a few more questions about the diamond thing. I don't really want to talk about that tonight. We'll probably get back into that a little bit more next week if things warrant it. But if John doesn't hurry up soon, I don't know what's going on. But I'm hoping he can get onto his phone. You should be able to because you're using your phone, but
right, yeah, you should be able to.
It's who knows what's going on for sure. But our movie tonight is the DreamWorks animated film, The Wild Robot, based off the book rather. By I want to say Dan Brown, but I want to make sure I got that right.
Isn't Dan Brown the guy who does the
Peter Brown?
Okay. You say Dan Brown does the religious novels, the religious mystery novels.
Yeah. Well, no. I just I that's why I said I don't think it's Dan Brown. It could be. Yeah, I knew it was Brown, but I couldn't remember. I was like, what's his first name for sure? Here he is. He's with us.
Hello, hello, sir.
Say hello, John. Can you hear us?
I don't think he can hear us.
Yeah.
And he's froze.
Yeah. Hold on a minute. Let me do something here. Whoops. My computer's being silly. There we go.
There he is.
Sorry, I can't hear y'all at all.
Oh. Huh. Okay.
What if his mic's muted?
Is your mic muted?
There we go.
You can hear us now?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
All right. Now he might have a little more feedback issue because John's using his phone, but we're gonna try and keep it simple. Okay, folks, we got everybody here, and so again, the topic is the Wild Robot from DreamWorks, based off the novel series by Peter Brown, and we're gonna go ahead and let Chris introduce us for a change for all this because, well, he's never really got a chance to talk.
No. I'll have to use my NPR voice.
Yes. Won't that be fun? And let's see what we got here. Here we go.
All right. The Wild Robot 2024. Director is Chris Sanders. Screenplay by Chris Sanders based on The Wild Robot by Peter Brown. Produced by Jeff Herman. Starring Lupita Nyong'o, Pedro Pascal, Kit Connor, Bill Nighy, Stephanie Hsu, Mark Hamill, Catherine O'Hara, Matt Berry, and Ving Rhames. Cinematography by Chris Stover. Edited by Mary Blee. Music by Chris Bowers. Production company is DreamWorks Animation. Distributed by Universal Pictures. The release date is September 27th, 2024 in the USA. And the runtime is 102 minutes. So, what this is about. It's a postmodern future. A storm causes a Universal Dynamics cargo ship to lose Rosm robots, which wash up on an uninhabited island. Only Rosm Unit 7134, nicknamed Roz, survives and is accidentally activated by the wildlife. Roz frightens the animals and injures herself while trying to help them, even after learning their language. Unable to find anyone needing her services, Roz signals for retrieval, but is struck by lightning and attacked by animals. While fleeing an aggressive grizzly bear, she accidentally crushes a goose nest, leaving only one egg. After Roz protects the egg from a hungry fox named Fink, a gosling hatches from it. He imprints on her and breaks her long-range transponder. Following advice from Pinktail, an opossum with several children, Roz cares for the gosling to ensure he can fly before winter migration. Fink discovers he can benefit from Roz, who builds a shelter and names the gosling Brightbill, and the three cohabitate. As Brightbill grows, he learns to swim, but is mocked by other geese. When Brightbill discovers Roz killed his family, he has a falling out with her and angrily disowns her before storming off. Heartbroken, Roz reconstructs another Rosm unit, who advises her to return to the Universal Dynamics factory. Roz decides to help to finish helping Brightbill learn to fly, enlisting the help of a falcon named Thunderbolt, and receiving advice from Longneck, the goose flock's leader, allowing Brightbill to master flying just in time to join the geese's migration. Roz, missing Brightbill and unsure of her continued purpose, reactivates her transponder, but shuts it off immediately after Universal Dynamics detects her signal. During the migration, a thunderstorm forces the geese to shelter inside a Universal Dynamics greenhouse, triggering a contamination alert that sets Rico robots after them. Longneck sacrifices himself so Brightbill can lead the flock to safety. Meanwhile, Roz and Fink save animals during a severe snowstorm, urging them to a truce before Roz powers down. Spring arrives and Roz reawakens to find the animals still following the peace and Brightbill returning, hailed as a hero. Shortly after, a Universal Dynamics retrieval robot, Vantra, Virtual Observational Neutralizing Troublesome Retrieval Authority, I love that name, arrives to recover Roz. Roz flees with Fink, pursued by Ricos, dispatched by Vantra. The animals band together to fight off the Ricos, but Vantra captures Roz and starts a forest fire by detonating the damaged Ricos. Brightbill attacks the Universal Dynamics dropship to save Roz as Fink and the others put out the fire. Despite Roz appearing to have been shut down by Vantra, her love for Brightbill restores her systems. Roz and Brightbill destroy the Vantra and escape as the dropship explodes. Roz decides to return to Universal Dynamics to protect the island from future attacks, but promises to return. Months later, the animals are still living in peace together at their habitat, while Roz is now working at another Universal Dynamics greenhouse elsewhere. Maintaining her memories, Bright Bill visits her, and the two embrace.
I'm going to let these two guys tell you what they think of the film first.
I adored this movie. I absolutely did. I think it's, if not the best, then certainly one of the best movies that DreamWorks Animation has ever done. And that's saying a lot because they've done some great ones. But, I think, visually, this film is gorgeous. I saw it in the theater and I have it on Blu-ray, and it just looks spectacular. It's got wonderful voice work, especially from Lupita Nyong'o and especially Pedro Pascal. I loved Pedro Pascal as Fink, and it's got a lot to say, and it's got some really good messages in it. So that's what I think of it.
Okay, so I went into this movie, and I didn't want to like it. Right, I was like, "This is for kids," I'm not gonna like it. But damn you, DreamWorks! Damn you! Ah! It sucked me in, and I ended up absolutely loving this movie. It's got heart. It's got great characterization. Um, the story is engaging. They make you care about the characters, so of course you want to know what happens. Um, there was a few, like teary eye moments, like I'm not crying, you're crying.
I want to know I want to know what those moments were for you.
Like I think it was when Roz decides to leave, the island.
Mm-hmm.
That was one. It was a lot of moments between Bright Bill and Roz.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I mean,
And I thought the animals, getting together and to hibernate, and calling a truce. I thought that was very heartwarming as well. So,
okay, go ahead. You're.
And I will say, because I'm a big fan of Chris Sanders, the director of this movie. Not for many reasons, not the least of which is he created and co-directed Lilo and Stitch. So he's very good at just taking these seemingly far-fetched situations and eccentric characters and just making you absolutely believe it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
For the record, I'm not a touchy feely, heartwarming story kind of guy. I'm like a the grizzled hardcore horror guy.
Fair enough. Yeah. I agree with everything both of you have said completely. Someone else from Facebook saying they had something to say. That had nothing to do with us. Yeah. It's got this amazing glorious color palettes. Wonderful blending of painterly backgrounds with the more muted CGI effects. A lot of this was done more traditional painted. They didn't use as much CGI because they didn't want it to be overly rendered. It plays very well for the story giving emotions, but not getting too dark with their emotions. Like you don't see Bright Bill like really get angry at Oz per se. You can tell he's angry with her because he's hurt by not knowing the truth, but he's not like violently angry when he learns what she did. And
Right.
because there's that. The characters are all well crafted and designed. The core themes of lost and found families, what it means to be a parent and a child, and in that whole relationship between not just Bright Bill and Roz, but really, in a way, Fink kind of as an adoptive child to Roz too.
Yeah, yeah.
And of course, she got the possum and her kits as well. So it's like there's a lot of similar traits, but shown in different elements and different styles of it. And it's all extremely well done. I can't take a single thing away from any of that, and it was a very thoroughly enjoyable thing to watch, but the story does have flaws. The flaws are necessary to come to the conclusion that the film has. The flaws are necessary because this is the first of 3 books that Peter Brown did, and so there's going to be at least one more not spin-off, but a sequel. We already know that one's already in development. Hopefully they'll do all 3. So it's that. So it's also made by Peter Brown and, of course, director Chris Sanders to give you the happy ending at the end of the movie. And unfortunately, this is my to no end. There's just no way that Universal Dynamics doesn't send a whole fleet of ships with military men and not just drones after the destruction of that recon ship. When you lose 5 or 10 Rosum figures in a bad storm and they fall off the sea and you lose them, okay, we're not happy about it. We lost 10,000, 15,000, whatever it costs for a robot. But when you lose a multi-million-dollar aircraft, not so much. I think they're going to be coming to find out what the heck happened to their ship. No matter what they do, whether they got her back or not. That's just my opinion.
Wasn't Universal Dynamics, I believe Universal Dynamics was completely robot automated though, right? There was no humans involved.
No, there were some humans.
Okay.
You do see some humans working there too.
All right.
And so, I guess that's just me being the realist, practicalist as a storyteller more than anything else. It's not like it's something wrong per se with the movie. It's just something that stick in my head as a storyteller, and it's like, yeah.
Happy endings.
Well, no, it's not, I guess for me, I would have liked to have seen Roz. Now, if we weren't going to have the 2 extra movies, the next 2 stories, I would have had Roz sacrifice herself and lose the memories to save the animals.
That would have been sad.
It would have been a sad thing, but it would have also been they would have still remembered her, the animals
right.
would have remembered her, and they would have done, like the beaver would have like carved out a wooden statue to honor her or something, things that would have been there so that her legacy would still be there. But I just thought, it kind of needed that sad ending, but truthful ending, because Dynamics is going to be destructive no matter what. That's what kind of I was looking at. But that being said, because there's going to be at least one more movie, which the movie is going to be called The Wild Robot Escapes, so we know what that's about. We're going to get to see what actually happens and whether or not they actually come after her when she escapes her new situation. But the problem is Chris Sanders has got his stuff together. I'm not worried about Chris Sanders, but they've put a very tall order in front of him because DreamWorks and Universal, this is the last movie that's been made at the DreamWorks Studios in Glendale, California. They've closed the studio, and they're going to put a lot of their stuff overseas in third parties, and that
didn't know that.
Yeah, and that does not bode well in my opinion. But I'm hoping DreamWorks and Universal isn't stupid and breaks up this team that they already have in place, and if they're just going to keep them all on for the next film or the next two films, so that everything is just unilateral and cohesive as a team, rather than go for cost-cutting measures. Because they certainly got their investment back on this film. This film cost $78 million to make, and it returned $325 million, which is a 416% return on your investment.
Yeah.
It's like, don't be dumb. Stick with what you got. Don't muck it up.
Well, I'd like to personally smack the person who decided to move it overseas.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know who actually made those decisions. I think it's mostly just Universal did it, because Universal has kind of like a control over DreamWorks now. So I think it was whoever's running Universal, but I don't know for sure. Now, John mentioned whether or not this is the best or one of the best that DreamWorks movies has ever produced. Yeah, probably is.
I think so.
Yeah. I'm sure other people will prefer Shrek or Kung Fu Panda as franchises, but in terms of the actual animation and the core level of refinement in the animation that went into production of making all the background scenery, the forest scenery look there's just enough for your eye to get the gist of what it is without being overly rendered. It feels, Chris Sanders says in the bonus material, by doing it with the palettes and the painting, you get an actual more realistic feel to it than you did if you over rendered it.
Right.
Yep.
And so it's like that is, whereas you watch Kung Fu Panda or you watch Shrek, there's a lot of stuff that just isn't. It's very bland backgrounds comparative to what this has. This is
for necessity,
Yeah.
because of computing power and whatnot.
Yeah. So it was like, there was that. And I also think that there was also the point of getting all the animals looking and moving right, versus where a lot of the other stuff like Kung Fu Panda and Shrek is more anthropomorphic in nature, more humanoid in nature, and that makes a difference as well in terms of the amount of work you have to do, because they had to study the movements of all those different animals and make it make sense and make it look correct. That's a lot of work. So I think that in terms of that, this movie was head and shoulders above anything that DreamWorks has done previously. Not having read the book to know how loyally the book was adapted in the film, I can't say. I know that Peter Brown seems to be very happy with it, so that's all. I think we can just take it from that. But I don't know. Like I said, there's just that one thing in the. I don't think Raj should have survived it. That's my opinion, but
they could have had Roz not survive for the sad ending, for the proper ending, and then you just have her make her triumphant return in the second one.
Yeah,
they easily could have done that.
Yeah, they could. It's just the happy ending just kind of left me. It didn't make me go bleh, but it just like, I know why they did it though, because I mean, imagine the kids watching the show and it's got a sad ending and they're all crying at the end of the movie. It's kind of like when Black Panther died in the Black Panther movie and half the kids in the theater were crying, and John knows what I'm talking about because we went to see it in the theater, and and John can tell you I was sleeping through the movie. The kids woke me up with their crying.
Or our generation, E.T. E.T. had me bawling my eyes out.
Yeah, I didn't cry with E.T. I just didn't. About the time that he and Elliot got co-drunk in the, he was drinking the beers and Elliot got drunk, I started losing my connection to the character. That's, because of personal stuff with my family and alcoholism in my family. It just turned me off immediately. And I was like, yeah, it's time for you to go home now.
How old were you, John? Do you remember when E.T. came out?
I was 7 years old.
And I was 11.
Yeah, I remember I saw it with my cousins, and my cousins had seen it before, and I hadn't. And they had these I saw E.T. stickers, and after the movie, my cousin got one of them and said, "Here." So, but yeah, I remember seeing E.T.
Yeah. That was one of those weird times in '83, because Jedi was out, E.T. was out. I think the second Indiana Jones movie was out in '83.
84, actually.
Was it '84? Okay.
Yeah.
Was it early '84?
That I don't remember, but I think it was '84.
Okay. All I know is it seemed like those three movies were in constant rotation for like a year and a half. Three of them all in the theaters, and it was like, isn't there anything else to watch? My family was the type that you go to see the movie once in the theater and you're done. You've seen it, you don't need to go back. So it was very confusing for me when everybody was going back. They're like, what did you do? Sleep through the movie and go see it again?
So are you you're not a rewatcher?
I am more now than I used to be, but I'm not one that like goes to like, well, John will tell you, like he went and saw Guardians of the Galaxy 2 or 3, and he was going to take me to see it for my birthday. And I was like, no, we're not. I made him take me to go see Colossal with Anne Hathaway instead.
Oh, that was such a good movie.
Oh, now that movie surprised me.
Yeah. I made Angie sit down and watch it, and she was like, "Oh my God, what are you making me watch?" And then she got sucked in, and she's like, "Oh my God, this movie's amazing."
Yep. We'll talk about that movie another day, for sure. You two are giving it 5 stars, right?
Yep.
Absolutely, yes. The story and everything sucked me in so much, that you mentioned the animation and the palettes in the background, that I didn't even think about that once.
Wow.
Like the story and everything just sucked me in so much. I wasn't even paying attention.
Wild. Because for me, it was the animation that sucked me into the story. And the color palettes. Now I was enjoying, the artistry of it, I guess you could say, more so. The story was fine. There was, like I said, there was nothing wrong about the pacing or the plot or anything. Everything made sense. Yeah, I just wasn't entirely keen on that ending, but there's nothing wrong with the ending. It makes sense, especially if you're going to have sequels and stuff. So, it's like, okay. So, okay. These two each give it 5, and I'll give it a 4.5. Okay. And you can take that, with a little bit of grain of salt, and it's a perfect film for kids and stuff. They'll be happy with it. So, it's just me being a little bit self grumpy pants.
Curmudgeonly, some might say.
Yes, curmudgeonly. Yes. I'm Mark Hamill as Bear. Okay. I do wish that Ving Rhames had a little bit more with it than he did as the Falcon Thunderbolt. I didn't even realize it was Ving Rhames until afterwards. I just didn't recognize his voice necessarily. Whereas I did recognize like Bill Nighy's voice. I was like, yeah, that's Bill Nighy. But they really did a nice job designing him to look like Bill. The character looked like Bill Nighy to an extent.
Right.
They did a really good job because sometimes, at least for me, when you have all these celebrity voices, it's like it never leaves my mind that is a celebrity doing the voice, and sometimes I tend to think about the celebrity more than the character. But with this film, it's like I like even the voices just sucked me into the characters, and like not once during the film did I ever stop to think, oh yeah, that guy's voicing this character. Like it just made me focus on the characters, which in my mind is the way it should be.
That's Chris Sanders. I mean, that's definitely how Chris is looking at it. I mean, he made them do multiple voices, different approaches, different techniques to find what they were comfortable doing, but still be different enough from that so that you might not recognize them as much. Because I mean, if you listen to Lupita Nyong'o as Roz, you can see the voice changing throughout the film. I shouldn't say see; you should hear it. And it's part of it is because of the change of the character throughout the film, but it's just little nuances that are just really good acting, but it's also really good directing. Yeah. And, your actors can only give you so much. The director has to give your actors not so much a guide, but something for them to connect with other than the books or what they think it is. You've got to give them feedback. And a lot of directors would rather take 13 cuts and then just splice together whatever they're going to cut together. And wait a minute, that's not how I would have done it,
Right.
If I'd known that's what you wanted, I would have done this differently type thing. And that's especially true in the animation. And John knows this because he likes to listen to voice actors, and they'll tell you've heard voice actors talk about that. And so it's like, go ahead.
Oh, and plus, a lot of times, I think in the old days they would do more group recording, but nowadays a lot of times, and mainly because of scheduling and logistics, like each actor is recorded by themselves, and they don't have the other actors to listen to, which makes the director and maybe the voice director, if there is one, all the more important for them to give them that feedback.
Yep,
absolutely.
And there's a scene in the bonuses. Yeah, go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, and again, hats off to Pedro Pascal, because that man is he's such a vocal chameleon that I didn't even know that was him. That man is a true vocal chameleon. He just blends into whatever project he's in.
Vocal chameleon.
Vocal chameleon. That's funny. Oh, that's good.
But anyway, yeah, I mean, if you watch the bonus material on the DVD,
you should.
Yeah, there's a scene with they're talking about the cast and then different things, and they're talking to Mark Hamill, and he was like, this story was so good, it reminded me of Star Wars, and I just had to do it. And it was like, okay, interesting. And then to see the bear that he does and the way he does it, it's like, yeah, you realize it's him, but they show him recording, and he's like, yeah, you guys gave me nothing but nods and smiles. So I guess I did something right. Yeah. It's like, I didn't get any feedback. Come on now. You got to give me something. And of course, Mark being a very experienced voice actor, to hear him say that, it was very interesting, because it means that Sanders trusts his people and trusts his actors to give him what he wants to. And so you can tell there was a really good camaraderie amongst the cast and the crew, which isn't always true for the voice acting situations. And that's something that, if you watch some of the podcasts with some of these voice actors or actors that are doing lesser shows, or like shows that are only on YouTube, oh my God, they get they get snarky.
Yep, so, they can. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like, wow. Yeah. But yeah. Oh, I didn't realize what you were wearing, John. You're wearing a Stitch.
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Because that was
one of my favorite shirts that I own.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, I didn't realize that you were wearing that, but it makes sense. Chris Sanders. I'm wearing my Wingman shirt because I don't have a goose. So I am just Bright Bill's Wingman today.
And I'm wearing a black T-shirt because it was within arm's reach.
Yeah. You got to remember to start dressing in theme now, Bruce.
Right? Yeah. But yeah, this movie was it was a great example of showing that the theme was that family isn't necessarily blood. Family is who you make family.
Yeah, that's what
you care about. Yeah.
That lost and found families, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was very interesting how different characters evolved in relation to one another. You also have to stop and think, okay, all the animals are now cohabitating on the island together, but at the same time, they have to be real. And that was something that, the fox, Fink, was trying, what Fink was doing throughout. He's like, oh, you want to pick on the kid? Fine, now I've got a reason to eat you. I was like, yeah, okay, cool. I can see that, type thing. But I kind of wish there was more to Fink's story than there was, because it seemed like he lost his family too, and that's why I said it was really good for the character, because Fink became kind of an adoptive child to Roz as well because of that. Even though he was like being a sort of half truthful surrogate on top of it,
And when he's first introduced, they did such a fantastic job of actually making you like kind of dislike him. Like when he's trying to steal the egg, you're like, you little shit, get back here.
But that's a fox. I do foxy things.
Right? Yeah, exactly. And the same with the raccoons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was like,
yeah. The beaver was hilarious.
Yes.
I kept waiting for the tree to go plump on top of him, though. But I was like, no, I'm going to eat like 95% through this tree. The tree's never going to fall, It's going to take everybody to push it over. Like,
But you know, that's realistic because if you
It is.
there's
It is.
actual
I know.
videos of cutting through trees and the trees literally held up by like, you know, that much.
Mhm. Yeah, I know. I've had to deal with it. My dad and I used to cut lumber up in Michigan. So
Okay. Yeah.
I'm familiar. I just, it's just, when you see it in that nature and it's done purposely in a comedic way, it's funny to look at. You're just waiting for it to be like, yeah, come on, do it. and if this was Warner Brothers cartooning, that poor beaver would have been Wile E. Coyote.
What was your favorite part of the movie, John?
Oh man, I tell you, another character I liked was Mother Possum, and especially the scene toward the beginning, where she tells Roz that her this gosling is imprinted on her,
Mm-hmm.
and Roz says, I don't have the programming to be a mother, and and then you have Mother Possum, who's like, you can just tell by the expression on her face, raising 6 or 7 kids, that she's been through a lot, I mean, to the point where, when she finds out that one of her kids actually didn't die, she goes, "Oh, great. Yay."
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's
She's
like,
like, I have 11. Oh, no, maybe 10.
like she's a nice combination of, you know, like snarky attitude, but mixed with genuine care.
Yeah.
And and Catherine O'Hara did a really nice job with her.
Yeah,
She did a fantastic
sounded
job.
like she's part Miss Frisbee from Rats of Nim, and she's part the mother from Harry Potter. I can't think of Weasley.
Yeah.
Oh, Weasley's mother. Yeah.
That's what I was like. She's something like a merger between those two characters. Was what I thought of the possum. I was like, like if they had the actress who played Mama Weasley playing that character, it'd been almost the same.
Right. And she was definitely an 80s mother. Like, she was raised in the 80s. She was, because the kids are just like, do whatever. She's like, okay, go on. Yeah, you're fine.
Well, it's not just that. I mean, when he's like doing his training, and he's flying, and she's like, "You get your butt off that ground."
Yeah.
That's just mama speak. You'll learn it. I'm like, okay, my mother, you never yelled at me like that. My dad might have, but not my mom. Probably because my mother never had to. Yeah, that's kind of the trick with being a good mom. If you've put the fear of God in your child, you don't have to raise your voice or yell at them.
Yeah, all you got to do is move a finger, and they're just like, okay.
But I don't know. I think the only time my mother yelled at me, I don't know why I thought I could do this. My mom's Chevette wasn't running, and she put it in neutral to get it out of the garage, out of the carport, down the driveway, and she pushed it out from the front and let it roll. And I was like, "Oh, nobody's going to stop the vehicle. Okay, I'm going to go right behind it and stop it." Yeah, my mother shrieked. And I'm like, "Okay, I'll get out of the way." Jeez.
Yeah.
But
I remember. I remember. Remember those old ketchup and mustard bottles?
Mm-hmm.
The yellow and red ketchup. Well, I think it was a commercial or something where somebody had written with with those, and I took the ketchup and mustard bottles and I wrote all over the table with them.
Well, yeah,
She
that would
was
be
not happy.
well, yeah. But you weren't like hurt about to kill yourself either.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, my mother is like, I'm like, what? I'm just
No, my mother was more like, if you die, just make sure you're home by the time the street lights are on. That's all I care about. You can die, just come back, be home by the time the street lights are on.
But okay, well, we've all like we'll give it like a let's see, yeah, let's go ahead and just say we're all in good news on this. So next week we're going to be back with the Japanese. Whoops, didn't want to do that. There we go. Japanese animated film version of Marvel's Tomb of Dracula series from 1980, Dracula, Sovereign of the Damned. I found out some new information about this film, and we'll talk about that more next week. But
I'm really looking forward to this.
You are?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one.
How about you, John?
Yeah, I mean, consider it like they say. I was today years old when I found out this movie existed, meaning this is literally the first time I've heard of this movie. So
yes.
So yep. Sure, I'm looking forward to it too. I'll learn something new.
Cool. Well, this actually, I'll go ahead and I'll give you a spoiler. Next week is Dracula, but the following week is the sequel or follow-up to this one, which is Frankenstein, based off of the Frankenstein comics.
Huh.
The Marvel Frankenstein comics. They did one in 1981 of the Frankenstein story. So we'll be doing Dracula next week and then Frankenstein after that.
Oh, so, now I'm really excited.
Yeah. So, because we know he likes his horror.
I love my Marvel monsters.
So that's for next week, folks. And we thank you for watching. If you want to get a hold of us, both the Raven LBR72 at gmail.com for me, Ray Figaro at hotmail.com. Chris, say
it. Christopher M. Hall 1973 at gmail.com.
Okay. We really do need to get you in your address in there on your name.
I'll do that next time.
But yeah. But until then, we appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next time. Quoth the Raven, Whisper Raven, never more.